If we win, we get 200 pesos!
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we're doing a Qualifier play-in in the timeless format featuring Merfolk. So Qualifier play-ins are like a little arena tournament that like rotates through different formats and pops up every once in a while, and figured since it was timeless I had to give it a shot. And so I played Merfolk a bunch of different times, sometimes more as a prison deck with like Harbingers and Chalice of the Voids, other times as like a Luris deck, like cutting the expensive stuff. Also I've sometimes played like Chrome Mox in the deck, so there's a lot of different things you can do. But however, recently in the Marvel set, we picked up Lord of Atlantis, which gives us 8 possible Island Walk Lords. And so it seemed like, so I put Harbinger back in there to like get the like forced Island Walk on people. And we're running forces, we're running Dazes, we got Caverns to force our stuff through counter spells. And like a metagame call for this particular time in Timeless is Mistcaller, which like if you sacrifice it's like a one-time containment priest. Just blue-black reanimator is super strong right now, and this just gives us like another way to battle against it. So let's jump to some games. Alright, so we're at the landing page and we're going to hit play and jump into the first game. And this hand looks pretty great, like exactly what you hope for. We have 1 mana creature, and then we have Merfolk Lord and a bunch of counter spells. So going to just slam a Mistcaller right here. This is definitely like a metagame call right here, because a metagame mist call you might say, because there's so much like reanimator running around. It's an exceptionally strong deck and it completely folds to a resolved Mistcaller. So now I thought very long about forcing right here. Like that's how much I respect Ragavan. Like and I'm just like, dang it, like I don't want to spew off the cards I have, but like Ragavan is just such a dangerous creature to leave in play. But I decided just to hold on for now, like just to try and trade it off with the Mistcaller. And I'm not attacking here. Ragavan's just a tricky creature you can snowball on. I have to admit, I was not happy to see my game 1 of this event being being energy, because I think it's a somewhat poor matchup for Merfolk. They just have so many snowbally creatures like Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, Ragavan, Ajani. We have like, the way I built it, I have like no removal, so it's just sort of at their mercy. We can like clock them with all of our lords, but this is a real good step right here. Being able to daze the Ajani was insanely clutch right there, and then ripping another Merfolk Lord is really nice. Now the thing is like that I like about Merfolk is that it is an aggro deck. Like you can see, like we can pour out the damage when it comes to it, but we have like super heavy disruptive elements, at least on the stack, with like our counter spells and our dazes. So with all the fetch shocking and stuff the opponent's doing, like we have them down pretty low. There is an argument to just letting Juggernaut Peddler resolve, since we can attack through it and just giving up 1 force, but I like just keeping it off the battlefield. And because once they get a few more creatures in the battlefield, then like our attacks don't look as good. So gonna smash them down to 6. Now I'm feeling reasonable, except notice that the opponent missed a land drop last turn, so they have all action in hand. So I'm like bracing for impact here. Alright, so here's Guide of Souls, Ocelot Pride, and this is exactly how the energy decks can like come right back into it. So alright, so they missed a land drop again, which is good for us, but they just like that, put 3 creatures on the battlefield, gained a couple life. 1 Surveil in the deck, just to like, with all the fetches for like the brainstorms off the Harmonized Trios, thought might as well put a Surveil in there. And you can see that was a clutch Surveil with an island. So I'm going to just attack all, because this is a lethal attack right here, force them to do something. The scariest thing they can do is just chump with the cat, and then possibly like get another energy to jump the Ocelot Pride next turn. I'm actually like super okay with this block right here, because we take down Ocelot Pride and Guide of Souls. But once again, the opponent has all action in hand, and we're sort of, 1 lightning bolt can sort of upend our whole gambit right here. Alright, so we draw out Harmonized Trio, which we're definitely not playing because it's Force of Will fodder right now. And I have the opponent basically, like, they have to have Bowmasters right here. Like, they have not played any lands a couple turns. Like, they're holding up something. I guess it could have been like Tefelia or something like that, but going to just snap off that Force of Will to take down Bowmasters, which would have been like a devastating, between the ping and the Orc army. Alright, so lock up win number 1 back on the landing page, and then love seeing that little icon go up, and then we jump right in again. Alright, so this is game 2. Opponent's going first. Double Cavern hand, which could be relevant. My opponent's leading on library. Going to just start off by slamming a Mindspring Merfolk and just passing to them. And if you enjoy, magic with stakes, please Marrow Regery the like button. Alright, so opponent plays a red-black. I gotta say, was not expecting to see a red-black land. So I'm going to slam another Cavern. Would love to get some more lands. So I'm trying to decide between the different lords here. Like, basically it's between, like, an Island Walk Lord or Hexcatcher, which can, potentially force spike some stuff. But the thing is, Hexcatcher is like super vulnerable to Bowmasters, and seeing black man over there makes me a little leery to do that. Alright, so on our end step, they're firing off an Entomb. The opponent's playing something a little different than like I'm used to seeing, so now I'm like, oh shoot, okay, is this like the traditional like blue-black Reanimator deck with Raph and Mikey, So I'm just going to attempt to force the Entomb, and it works. Like, I thought for sure it was going to get forced back or something like that. So, alright, so opponent's going to activate Library, play a Swamp, and play Demonic Tutor, which, can't do anything about it, but don't exactly love to see it. And then they're going to Grief pitching Arden. And so now I realize that they are not the like Raph and Mikey Reanimator deck. There's something different, maybe closer to like more traditional Reanimator decks of old, which is like the kind I typically like to play. So now it seems like a good time to play Hexcatcher because we might need to Force Spike, and we're gonna clock them for 6 and just pass. And have to see. Alright, so opponent shocks and land. They're gonna Entomb. We're not going to Force Spike that. They put a Massacre Worm in the graveyard and then have a Necromancy. I was praying, like, please no, like, reanimate, but it was a Necromancy. So we do have to sacrifice a Merfolk, but we will stop the Massacre Worm. So that is really nice. And I'll go ahead and link a Library of Alexandria deck that I've played before. It's an awesome card. I need to play it more often, but it's a sweet card. I'm going to pass with just Merfolk Trickster up. So here's the Necromancy, like just, and once again held on to the Mindspring Merfolk as force fodder. Not to mention, like, if we have to, we can flash in the Trickster to Force Spike something, but yeah, it turns out to be enough. So that's 2 wins already, and on the landing page, jumping right back in for game 3. And this hand, alright, so opponent's mulligan, yeah, just keeping this hand off the strength of, like, turn 1, Merfolk into Merfolk Lord. Sometimes I think it's worth it to hold back on Cavern if you fear it's going to get strip mined, but seeing blue-black on the other side of the battlefield, like thinking that could be like the Raph and Mikey Reanimator, I'm going to just slam an uncounterable Mistcaller. And like I said, these decks struggle insanely against a Mistcaller. They don't run much interaction. Though on a previous run that I did in this event, I did have the opponent tutor up a Into the Flood Maw and bounce the Mistcaller and then go off, which I was not expecting. So some people have some tech or like sink into Stupor, for example. So you have to be aware of that. And being aware that they might be able to get themselves out of this with like a bounce spell, I am going to attempt to force the Entomb right here, just to like at least complicate their life a little bit. And they choose not to fight over it. I don't know if they could have fought over it, but the opponent's going to crack their fetch here. But I'm feeling pretty good with both Daze and Mistcaller right now, and the opponent's surveilling away forces, desperately trying to find something. So there's another Surveil land. And for this matchup, like, you don't need to go all out, like, attacking. Like, you just need to get at least one Mistcaller in play and just slowly whittle. And turns out that was enough to take them down. So that's 3 wins right there, jumping right back in again. And I had been struggling to find 1-mana Merfolk that I like. So I'm seeing a Lurrus Companion. And you could see I was about to keep just because it's a functional hand. But, like, no, like, those are all X1s. Like, we need some Lords. This hand looks way better. So I'm going to put Mistcaller back. Mistcaller does nothing in like the Lurrus matchup. I guess when Lurrus is in play, you might be able to stop something, but that's not the game you want to play against Lurrus. So our opponent is going to go turn 1 Tamiyo. So it's not an energy deck, but is it that much better considering it's like blue-black Lurrus, which is probably like Hydroponics Architect and Orcish Bowmasters and stuff like that. So alright, so opponent's going to crash in with Tamiyo. And we'll have to see what else they have in store. Alright, so they're flipping Tamiyo right away with the Brainstorm. And don't love that because its plus is just going to keep debuffing all of our creatures. Alright, so they're cracking their fetch. They turn out to actually be an Esper list, not just Dimir. So they're going to fire off a Thoughtseize and take our Harbinger, which makes our hand is actually really strong. So like they probably were not happy to see what we had in hand because, you know, they probably would have loved to take our Merfolk Lord, but Harbinger is just lights out if we get that in the battlefield against them. So I'm playing the Merfolk Lord to actually get at least 1 point of damage through Tamiyo's debuff. And so basically the Merfolk Lord and Tamiyo are going to sort of cancel each other out right here. Alright, so Tamiyo's going to plus again. And they're going to swords our Lord of Atlantis. So don't love to see that. Like I feel like it's slipping away right here. The opponent's going to play a Death Shadow. They know they have to work through our Daze anyway, so I'm just going to Daze it right here. That way they don't have any defender, you know, way to sort of protect their Tamiyo. You could see I was about to play the basic item, but I'm like, you know what, let me just, you know, I know it's minimal, but I'm going to deck thin here just to try and reduce the amount of lands in the deck. I'm going to slam a Lord of Atlantis. Like, our life total doesn't really matter at this point, and so getting a land out of the deck seems like it's worth it. So another 1 point of damage on the Tamiyo here, and the opponent is going to regrowth the swords and hit our Lord of Atlantis. And like, alright, come on, don't kill the Merfolk, please. And it's a Thoughtseize, which is perfect for us, and we draw Sink into Stupor. So this was a gift right here. The opponent is, you know, has been able to sort of match what we've been doing, but at pretty steep cost because we're going to be able to take down Tamiyo right now. And do we play the Polluted Delta so that we can grab our Surveil? Basically, do we expect to use Sink into Stupor right now? And I decide just to play the fetch land. Alright, so going to crack the fetch, grab the Surveil, try and find some action right here. Another Sink into Stupor is not what we want, so I'm going to Surveil that away, and on their end step still, they're going to hammer our creature with Orcish Bowmasters. As we rip another land, I'm just like, dang it. Oh, I felt like we were going, like, it was going reasonable, like we killed the Tamiyo, like sure they killed like all of our Merfolk Lords, but it felt okay. Now I'm like, dang it, alright. Felt like it slipped away, so... Alright, so the opponent is going to Treasure Cruise right here, which is basically like the ideal thing to hit with Sink into Stupor, because it may prevent them from casting it. They have like 1 or 2 cards left in their graveyard. But this is going to prompt a pitching force from them, which makes sense. Like, Treasure Cruise is like super valuable, so... and they do hit another land drop off the back of that Treasure Cruise, so... I'm going to play another land, like... I'm assuming they're running strip mines over there and stuff, and like... it might get to the point where we want to play extra things. Alright, so here's another Orcish Bowmasters. Alright, so they're going to hit us right here. And so, you know, we can Trickster and like prevent an attack, but what I wanted to do, like, I wanted to try and turn this game around, and so I'm going to use Cavern to try and ambush block an Orcish Bowmaster right here. And so the opponent is fishing for something, but they don't find it, so... it doesn't really matter which one we take abilities from. I guess we, you know, the opponent could have like way to force card draw upon us, and so maybe we should have done it to one of the Bowmasters. But all right, second main phase Hydroponics, and then Lord of Atlantis was exactly what we needed right here because the opponent is playing islands, and so our Trickster is unblockable right here. So we're gonna knock them to 6. All right, so opponent's gonna attack him with these 2. Definite no block right here. Hydroponics has its trigger, and a Brainstorm from the opponent. And feeling pretty good because we have 3 unblockable damage right now. The opponent's going to crack the fetch again. Strip Mine that draws a card is pretty dang strong. I'm like, alright, no, don't hit our Cavern, because we you know, another Lord right now could seal the deal for us. So I'm doing a Force of Will / Daze count. Like, I haven't seen any Dazes from them, so I'm assuming that there's still a bunch of those. But we have a lot of lands at this point. Too many, it looks like. And then this right here is a Forced Chump, which happened to work. So the opponent, you notice they did not strip mine us. They were actually trying to fish for another Swords of the Plowshares and lock up that win and move right on into the next game. So sitting pretty at 4-0. And this is where you naturally start sweating a bit, like, okay, like, things are going well. I don't want to mess this up. And Chrome Mox from the opponent, I'm like, oh no, is this going to be like Chalice for one, or attempted win on one, you know? So the opponent is going to stick a Brainstorm, and then we draw a Harbinger. And so I'm hesitating here because I'm like, all right, like, seeing Brainstorm really makes me think that they are, that this is like this Raph and Mikey Reanimator deck. So I'm going to attempt to put a Mistcaller into play. That way they have to at least force it or something like that. The opponent's going to Vampiric Tutor in response. And the thing is, like, there are show and tell decks, but like the Reanimator ones are not only very popular, but they're popular for this kind of event because it presents such an early win that it's good for like spiking an event like this. You want to get 6 wins before two losses. You only have 1 loss to give, you know, to get to 6 wins. So as I attack in right here, let me know in the comments, what's your favorite 1-mana Merfolk? You can see that Mistcaller is doing some incredible work for us, but maybe you like Harmonized Trio or Cursecatcher. All right, so, and one thing I didn't do is flash in the Hexcatcher right there. I just hiding the information from them. I've learned in these matchups as I've been like grinding a couple of these events that like against this deck, if it is the Reanimator deck, you don't need to be that aggro. Like, it's all about the Mistcallers, you know. So, and now we're sitting at 5-0. So we still have 1 loss to give. Like, if we lose the next one, we still have another chance. But we're in it for the stakes right now. So this hand, I didn't love it against a Luris deck, but it just seemed too reasonable to send back with 3 Merfolk Lords and a Force. Seeing Hexcatcher right there, I'm going to put that on top. So, all right, so opponent's going to draw. And notice some weird like priority passing like happening for them. So like it seems like they have a free spell. All right, so here comes Ragavan. And once again, like the other game, I'm like, okay, like I think I might force this right here because Ragavan is just such a pain. We don't have any 1-mana creatures, you know, it's like it'd just be trading off one of our lords, but ultimately I'm like, you know what, let's just hold on. And also this is sort of uncharted territory. The opponent's a red-green Luris deck, which is, you know, it could be like Jund, it could, you know, like Deathrite Shamans, Bowmasters and stuff, but it's most of the Luris decks you see are some kind of energy or like blue-black hydroponics, you know, so I'm trying to sort of suss out what the opponent has going on. And like trying to flash in a Hexcatcher is like a risk because, you know, we flash it in, they just bolt it, and then they get their hit and they make their treasure. And so this fortunately do get the block. So that was huge right there. So we're going to trade right here. We're, you know, it's less mana efficient for us, but like we stopped their snowballing threat, and I see a strip mine. I'm like, oh shoot, okay, that could be bad. And then another Ragavan, and so I'm like, oh, I don't want to just keep trading for Ragavans right here. Like I want to start stacking lords on the battlefield at some point. So I'm going to force this, as painful as it is, especially because even if they strip mine us, we could still slam a lord next turn. All right, so the opponent. And, you know, once again, this is the 5-win matchup. So the opponent has main deck Surgical. So they're going to get rid of all of our Force of Wills. And, like, that must be how they've gotten this far, is they've been feasting on Reanimator decks with main deck Surgicals, you know, just fighting them in that axis. So, going to slam Master of the Pearl Trident right here. And then pass. We already have our 1 Surveil land in play. So, like, our fetch is not, like, quite as good as it could be. Amped Raptor is tough. This is going to be this could be pretty strong. All right, so they spin into a Thoughtseize. Thankfully, it's not like a lightning bolt. And they're going to take our Lord of Atlantis. And the one thing, like knowing they have Surgicals, it makes sense to not keep both of our Master of the Pearl Tridents in hand because, you know, let's say they Thoughtseize Master and then they were able to Surgical away the other one, you know. That could have been like pretty devastating for us, which is in fact what they could have done. They end up just taking our other lord, but that would have been devastating. So that's just something to remember. I didn't consciously play around it, but that's something that would have been very helpful. Alright, so just gonna play everything out and crash in for 3 damage right here. Now the thing is, if the opponent finds like a land for like Orcish Bowmasters or something, like with the first strike and Amped Raptor, like it could get ugly, but it turns out that was enough, and we actually get 6 wins. You could see me like freaking out right here, and that was just really awesome. Anyway, this is my 4th run, and I'll explain in the comments like, you know, about some of my other runs I did. But yeah, locked up the qualifier weekend. So yeah, hang around for the deck post-match deck tech right now. Well, that was super fun, and man, it feels good to have qualified for that. And yeah, just an awesome run right there. So like I mentioned, this is actually my 4th run at it. So I went 4-2 with Merfolk, then went 2-2 with Merfolk, then went 2-2 with Titan Scam before doing this run right here. And the reason I was able to do so many runs, like it's 4,000 gems to enter, you know, it's expensive, but you get free entries when you have top 1,200 mythic finishes for any given month, you know, so I racked up a bunch of those in limited, and so I had just a bunch of entries, and so basically just banked them until this qualifier play and rolled around to timeless, you know, is like what I was waiting for. And this is like the deck that you know me, I play a billion different decks, and that actually works against you in these kind of things, because you know you really like want to be like hyper focused and have like a really strong deck that you're like really know in and out. But I'm always pinballing between different ones, you know, so that's sort of tough. But this one just seemed like a pretty good call for the metagame. Like it has forces, has caverns, and then the MVP Mistcaller. Like this card was just destroying blue-black reanimator decks a whole lot, and like it happened even more in my other runs that I did, you know. And so this card is just super good. Like if it resolves, like there's very little they can do about it. They like find like a sink into Stupor or something like that. You didn't get to see it in like these games, but Harbinger in the Seas is like really strong in my other runs, like shutting down Eldrazi, shutting down Energy. Like it had multiple games where it single-handedly won it. It was just very strong. So wanted to shout this card out because it really performed in some of the other runs. So I mentioned how I've like tinkered around with like a lot of different Merfolk decks. There's like a lot of different ways you can build it. More prison-y with like chalices. You can also have like Chromoxes in there, try and power out stuff, but then like you have to have ways to make up the card advantage. And so I had basically built this exact list, but with like a couple of green sources and then playing a Cenote's Scout instead of Mistcallers. It just seemed like the best Merfolk, because I was pulling out Silvergill Adepts. I'm like, all right, this is like pseudo card advantage. I wanted to lower the curve, but man, it just sucks to put a green card into this deck. Like it doesn't pitch to the forces. You could potentially lock yourself out of it with Harbinger. If you play a forest so you don't lock yourself out, the forest is really bad with your Lord of Atlantis and Master of the Pearl Trial. Like it's just, I'm like, eventually I'm like, I can't do it. Like it's just too bad to play it. And so I went back at the blue mana Merfolk, the blue 1-mana Merfolks, and like took a look at them, and then I found Mistcaller. I'm like, wow, that could actually work. Just thinking about how many reanimator decks running around, and so that was the change, and that really like unlocked the whole thing. And so I really wish this was a blue card, but yeah, it was nice that it eventually led me to playing Mistcaller. So Silvergill Adept is awesome, but it's just in a Bowmasters meta, it's just sort of tough. I still like it, but just had to make room for like Lord of Atlantis and some of the other stuff. Another one to consider is Silvergill Mentor, because we have so many strong lords. Like putting 2 bodies on the battlefield is pretty nice. Not to mention like this could be like a collected company deck if you wanted to get fancy. So there's a lot to think about. But anyway, hope you enjoyed watching, and that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.